villager's house! I wonder what's inside! Oh, hi there, Mr. Villager! Do you have anything to trade with me? Oh, you do? Oh my god!
Here are some of the funniest fake Minecraft speedruns ever recorded. This speedrun starts right next to a village, as we can see a villager's house right next to them. So the first thing the speedrunner does is go into the village and start stealing all of the crops from the villagers. Now that the speedrunner has a decent amount of food, they then head over to the blacksmith. They open the door and inside the chest is some normal loot, like a piece of iron, 3 emeralds, a saddle, and a revolver. Last time I checked, there weren't guns inside of Minecraft, but I could have just missed an update. Well, the speedrunner takes this very legit loot out of the chest and leaves the blacksmith. They begin showing off their very cool looking revolver, which honestly looks pretty big. The speedrunner then runs around a little bit until they suddenly pick up a stone pickaxe. The stone pickaxes don't just randomly spawn on the ground like that. So I feel like the speedrunner just went inside a creative and placed down the pickaxe before the speedrun even started. The speedrunner then finds a patch of gravel and they begin mining it. But the speedrunner just doesn't have dream luck, so they get no gravel. So they have to place down more gravel and then break it until they eventually get a flint. They then use that flint and the iron that they got from the blacksmith to make themselves a flint and steel. Now that the speedrunner has a flint and steel, they go down the mountain some more until they find this weirdly looking square, which actually kinda looks like a door. The speedrunner breaks directly in the middle, and that's when they find a nether portal, which for some reason is already lit, which means that the speedrunner didn't even need to make themselves a flint and steel in the first place. Well, the speedrunner goes into the portal. Now that the speedrunner is in the nether, they look around for a little bit until they find a fortress, which means that the speedrunner got a pretty lucky nether spawn. The speedrunner then tries building up, but a piglin tries to stop them. But the speedrunner is too good at PvP and kills the piglin, which drops a golden sword. The speedrunner finds this weirdly dug out hole, so they drop down into it, which leads them right to the fortress. Not only that, but there's also a chest in the fortress. The speedrunner opens the chest and finds a shield, an iron sword, an iron chestplate, and iron leggings, which are all things that typically do not spawn inside of fortresses. Well, either way, the speedrunner takes all of that loot and begins to explore deeper inside of the fortress. Eventually, the speedrunner finds a blaze, so they just kill the blaze, but there's also a spawner here. But blaze spawners don't just randomly spawn inside of fortresses, so I think that the speedrunner just placed down this spawner here. Well, either way, the speedrunner kills the blazes, but then a random cut happens, and the speedrunner suddenly loses an entire level, and all of their items are mixed around, which leads me to believe that the speedrunner died, but just simply cut it out to make it look like they actually didn't die. The speedrunner tries to kill some more blazes, but they are running low on food very fast, so they begin making their way back towards the portal, and that's when they just simply leave the nether. Now that the speedrunner is back in the overworld, they go around the village a lot trying to look for some food, and that's when they find some pigs inside of a pen, so they just start killing them and eating their food. But wait, I just realized that the speedrunner somehow has 11 blaze rods. But if you look at the footage from before, the speedrunner definitely did not have 11 blaze rods, which means at some point during the speedrun, they must have given themselves some blaze rods when no one was looking. But this is also when the speedrunner opens up their inventory and we can see that they have tons of ender pearls. But not once inside of the speedrun did we ever see them gain any ender pearls, so I'm honestly very confused. The speedrunner then turns their blaze rods into blaze powder and makes themselves some eyes of ender. But instead of throwing the eyes of ender like a normal speedrunner would inside the situation, they instead start traversing down a mountain. They then grab some hay. They also look directly into the eyes of this enderman, but for some reason the enderman just didn't attack them. The speedrunner then finds a giant cave, so they jump down into some water. They then 1v1 this creeper until it blows up, and the speedrunner finds an end portal. I could have sworn the end portals usually spawn inside of strongholds, not just inside of random caves. Well, the speedrunner places in their eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they're faced with a severe problem. Their platform is way too high up, and the speedrunner is only on 5 hearts. And I honestly don't think there's any way for them to jump down onto the island without dying. So if they die, I think everyone should probably subscribe. Well, the speedrunner has no option but to just simply jump, and that's exactly what they do, but they just die. So I guess that means that every everyone has to subscribe. The speedrunner starts by immediately building themselves a nether portal. Once in the nether, they're right above a fortress. And for some reason in the fortress is an enderman. The speedrunner kills the enderman, but then suddenly there are two blazers trying to kill the speedrunner. Wait, what? Mario, where did you come from? Okay then? The speedrunner uses their ender pearl, and Mario uses the blaze rods, and they throw them in the air to create an eye of ender. Once the speedrunner gets to the stronghold, they place in the eyes of ender and enter the end. They also instantly kill the ender dragon by throwing a sword at its face. And that's how the speedrunner wins the speedrun. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I am so sorry. I am super duper close to 30,000 subscribers, so if you could subscribe, that would honestly make my entire day. This speedrun starts pretty normal with the speedrunner immediately mining a tree. They mine 4 logs when they suddenly dig straight down and find a chest. But listen to the reason why the speedrunner dug down in the first place.
Alright, I think that's enough wood. I'm gonna go mine for some stone now. Oh wait, a chest? I was not expecting a chest to be here.
Yeah, apparently they were trying to mine some stone but accidentally found the chest. I don't know if I believe them because I don't think random chests spawn here in the first place. But the speedrunner opens the chest and finds an iron pickaxe. So they take the iron pickaxe and build out of the hole. That's when the speedrunner realizes that they spawned right next to a village.
Oh, and I'm right next to a freaking village. This is the most luckiest spawn ever.
So the speedrunner heads towards the village and they enter the first house, which has a barrel. But for some reason, the barrel has nothing inside of it. And the speedrunner says this.
Ooh, a barrel? Well, let's see if this barrel has anything inside of it. Oh, nothing? Okay, wait a minute.
They exit the barrel, then reopen it, and there's suddenly full diamond armor inside of the barrel. Which I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how the heck they did that. And this is the speedrunner's excuse for there being full diamond armor inside of that barrel.
I think the full diamond armor was just glitched, so that's why it wasn't in there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just a glitch. Speedrunner then goes inside of some houses and steals some beds, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy. The speedrunner finds some hay bales and starts mining them, which I honestly thought they were gonna use for food, but the speedrunner says this instead.
We're also gonna need some hay bales for the hay bale clutching.
Apparently he's gonna use the hay bales for hay bale clutching, so I think this speedrunner doesn't even realize that you can use hay bales for food as well. Well, right after this, we can see a wandering trader inside of this village. Now, at first, this might not seem like a big deal, until you realize that wandering traders only spawn after 14 days of the world being up, which is like 2 hours in real time. So the speedrunner just started the world, there should be no reason that there's a wandering trader here. The speedrunner then finds a ruin portal, and if you've ever seen a ruin portal before, you know that this is not a real ruin portal. Because not only is the ruin portal already finished, there's also no lava or magma blocks. But the speedrunner opens a chest and finds a flint and steel. So they light the nether portal and enter the nether. Once in the nether, they look around and find a hole filled with striders, which has gotta be the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen. But then the speedrunner suddenly says this.
Them silly striders. Well, I'm gonna need some gold to trade with the strider.
Yeah, apparently they're gonna need some gold to trade with striders. Even though I thought the only way that you can trade with striders is if you give them a dragon egg. But maybe they added this in the newest update. The speedrunner then says they're just gonna simply mine some netherrack, and then this happens.
Well, I'm just gonna mine for some netherrack so I can try to find gold. Oh, gold? Oh my god, right behind the netherrack? That's so lucky, and there's so much gold.
Yeah, apparently there's just random gold blocks behind this netherrack, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't believe that for a single second. Well, there was a lot of gold blocks, so the speedrunner now has like over 100 gold ingots, and they drop an entire stack on the striders. The speedrunner then says they're gonna leave.
Alright, I'll be right back. You guys better have the goodest trades ever but when I get back.
And when they come back, something strange happens.
Alright guys, I'm back. Let's see if you guys have any good trades for me. Oh my goodness, 27 eyes of ender? You guys are so nice, thank you.
The striders gave them 27 eyes of ender, which I didn't even know was possible. But the speedrunner goes back to the portal and leaves the nether. Once they're back in the overworld, they throw their eye of ender to try to find where their stronghold is. They then find this normal looking tree and say this.
Oh wait a minute, that is a cool looking tree over there. I'm gonna check if there is a stronghold beneath the tree because I feel like it.
Oh, I swear to God, if there is a stronghold beneath this tree, I'm actually going to flip. Well, they dig straight down next to the tree and find an end portal.
Oh my god, there is! That is so lucky!
Oh yeah, I'm sure that is so lucky, wow. Well, they just place in the Eyes of Ender and enter the end. But once you're in the end, for some reason, there are tons of Ender Dragons.
Oh no!
The speedrunner then tries critting out the Ender Dragons, but they're doing no damage, so they placed on the bed that they got from the village and just blow themselves up, and their reaction is priceless.
Kill this bed! Oh.
And I'm pretty sure they just give up on the speedrun because it just ends here. The speedrun starts right next to a village. They immediately head into the village and just run in a straight line until they suddenly pick up an iron axe. But if we put the footage in slow-mo, we can see that the iron axe literally fell from the sky, which in case you couldn't tell is obviously not legit. The speedrunner then uses this iron axe to go inside of several of the villagers' houses and steal all of their beds, which is actually a good speedrunner strategy as they can use those beds to kill the Ender Dragon. Once they have 4 beds, they enter another house which has a chest, and inside of it is the most random loot I think I have ever seen. Like, what the heck is he gonna do with literally any of this? Well, the speedrunner takes all of this loot and then leaves the house. The speedrunner goes in 3rd person, and that's when they spot a cave. They enter the cave, which has a spawner with tons of chickens. Don't get me wrong, spawner rooms are a thing inside of Minecraft, they just never have chickens inside of them. Well, the speedrunner starts going on a chicken killing rampage, and that's when they realize that there's actually ender chests instead of normal chests. So speedrunner opens it and finds full netherite armor, which is obviously completely fake. Well, fake or not, the speedrunner takes all of the armor and the sword and kills more chickens. The speedrunner tries to leave the spawner room, but they have no blocks to get out. That's when suddenly their netherite sword easily breaks the cobblestone, which I didn't even know was a thing. They leave the cave and start exploring more of the village. But that's when they find this super duper long path. So of course the speedrunner follows the path, and as they're on the path, we can see this floating carrot. And it looks like whoever's holding the carrot is eating it apparently, until the carrot suddenly vanishes. Well, they ignore that and go down the path some more until they find this ruin portal. So the speedrunner goes up to the chest of the ruin portal and finds some pretty normal loot, other than the fact that there's an odd amount of obsidian here. The speedrunner takes the loot, and turns out that this obsidian was the exact amount they needed to finish the ruin portal. But I'm sure that the speedrunner just got extremely lucky. But they use the fire charge that they got from the ruin portal and light the nether portal. Once the speedrunner is in the nether, they find this extremely long red vine. So of course the speedrunner goes up the vine, and then even use their horn as they're climbing it. Once they get to the top, there's really nothing here. That's when tons of Eyes of Ender start falling from the sky, which I'm pretty sure I heard about was in the newest update. So believe it or not, this part is actually legit. The speedrunner then picks up all of the Eyes of Ender until they have 27 Eyes of Ender, which I'm pretty sure is more than enough Eyes of Ender. They then start heading down the vine and go back through the nether portal. Once they're back in the overworld, they throw their Eyes of Ender to see where the stronghold is. Wait, why are they going in the opposite direction? But the speedrunner just starts swimming in the water for some reason, and then they suddenly fall into a hole which has an end portal. Not only that, there are tons of signs with the most random things on the sign. Now, I'm not gonna read them all, but you can pause it and look at it, because these signs are just crazy. They place in the Eyes of Ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they find this weird hay bale parkour, which I'm gonna be honest, looks pretty easy. But the speedrunner goes for the first jump and fails it. Wait, never mind, they made it. I think I just saw the footage wrong or something. They then do the rest of the parkour pretty darn easily until they get to the main island. Now, before we get into this dragon fight, I'm gonna be honest, this is the weirdest fight I've ever seen. Because, spoiler alert, the speedrunner doesn't hit the dragon a single time, but they somehow win the speedrun by killing the Ender Dragon. Well, they start by just standing still and swinging at tons of end crystals, which for some odd reason just break. And they do this to literally every single end crystal in the entire end. Now, once all of the end crystals are broken, they do the same thing to the Ender Dragon. But the thing is, we can see a sword literally chasing the Ender Dragon down, hitting it over and over again. And even at one point, their potion effect wears off, and we can see this guy right inside of creative, just flying around smacking the ender dragon. They make themselves go back to being invisible. The speedrunner just keeps sitting there swinging as if they're actually hitting the ender dragon when they're clearly not. And eventually the ender dragon just dies and the speedrunner wins the speedrun. The speedrun starts inside of a Savannah biome. And surprisingly, things are pretty normal. They look around to see if they have a good spawn and they don't really see anything. So they begin by mining a tree. They mine a few logs and turn those logs into planks. They then make themselves a crafting table and sticks and use a crafting table to make themselves a wooden pickaxe. They break their crafting table to take it with them, and that's when they find a ruined portal. But for some reason, the speedrunner turns around to start beating up this weird ball thingy, and then they actually decide to go to the ruined portal. The speedrunner opens the chest and finds some pretty normal loot other than the fact that there's a piece of iron inside here. And ruined portals never have iron, so this is actually pretty confusing. But they take the loot from the chest and use the flint and the iron to make themselves a flint and steel. They then place the 4 obsidian to block off the lava, and then they light the portal. Once they're in the nether, they look around and they realize that they got a terrible nether spawn. But then if I pause it right here, do you see anything suspicious? Cause I do. Alright, if you don't see it, it's actually this red thing that is just randomly placed all by itself. So the speedrunner goes right up to it, breaks it, and breaks the block beneath it to find a chest, which has tons of blaze rods and ender pearls. The speedrunner takes all of the loot and uses the blaze rods to turn into blaze powder and make themselves some eyes of ender. They then go back through the portal and start going in a random direction. That's where they find this stone wall that they randomly start mining for no reason. As they begin digging straight down, they find a hole which has a stronghold. Not only this, there's also a sign that says stronghold, just in case, you know, we couldn't tell it was a stronghold. Yeah. Where the speedrunner places in all of the eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they realize that they're stuck in a box, so they use their wooden pickaxe to break out and use their extra ender pearl to throw it, and once it lands, the speedrunner starts heading towards the ender dragon. But that's when they come up with this absolutely 200 IQ play. They place their end stone in a weird shape that honestly makes me a little bit hungry. Wait, what? Where they go up to their thing that they made, and a very clear cut happens, and the ender dragon is now dead somehow, which of course isn't suspicious at all. Well, now that the ender dragon is dead, the speedrunner wins the speedrun, I guess. This speedrun starts right next to a desert village, and the first thing they do is head into the village, but they cannot sprint. This is because they're literally about to die of hunger. There's no way they started a speedrun already losing hunger bars. But once the speedrunner is inside the village, they of course get themselves some food, but then as soon as they're done eating their food, we get a slight glimpse of this blue plank, which is a type of wood that does not spawn inside the desert, as it can only spawn inside the end. Well, the speedrunner explores the village a little bit more until they find 3 randomly placed chests. So they go up to the first chest and open it, where they find tons of diamonds. So they take the chest full of diamonds and go up to the second chest, where they find more diamonds? Okay, well, they go up to the third chest, but wait, I have a weird feeling that this last chest is gonna have diamonds inside of it. So if I'm right, I think everyone should subscribe. Well, the speedrunner opens the chest and finds more diamonds. Who would have guessed? Well, I guess that means that everyone now has to subscribe. Well, now that the speedrunner has 2.69 billion diamonds, they enter a villager's house which has a crafting table. So the speedrunner crafts himself full diamond armor. You're probably thinking that the speedrunner has some pretty overpowered loot, and that's what I thought too, until the speedrunner randomly wanders around and finds a random chest. So they open this random chest where they find insanely overpowered loot. I honestly didn't even know that they could get more overpowered loot than what they already had. But the speedrunner takes all of this loot and heads into the Magarov swamp biome. As they go deeper inside of it, they find a random desert area in the middle of the swamp. Not only that, but they also find a buried ruin portal. But here's where things get rather strange, because as they go up to the ruin portal, they dig in a very specific spot where they find the chest of the ruin portal. Now, I'm just confused how they knew that the chest was here, because something's telling me that they definitely are cheating. Well, they open the chest and surprisingly find some pretty normal loot, but they only needed this chest for the flint and steel, so they take the flint and steel and build out of the hole. They then for the next minute just dig out the entirety of the ruin portal until all the sand is out of the way. They then light the nether portal and enter the nether. Once they're in the nether, we can spot something that is very unnatural, a soul sand bridge that weirdly leads to absolutely nowhere. So the speedrunner follows this bridge until 2 ghast start shooting at them. So they place some obsidian around them and then go in third person, where we can see this very odd chest. I guess going in third person gave them a whole new perspective on things. Well, they open the chest and find tons of blaze rods and also some ender pearls. So the speedrunner takes all the loot and heads back towards the nether portal. Now, once they're back in the overworld, they build out of the hole and then turn their blaze rods into blaze powder and make themselves some eyes of ender. They then throw the eyes of ender ender and follow it into the mangrove swamp, where eventually they find an end portal, so they place in the eyes of ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, the speedrunner kinda messes up, because they're trapped in a box and they have no pickaxe. That is until the speedrunner goes up to the wall and backs up, and they're suddenly out of the hole, which I'm pretty sure is not legit. The speedrunner then uses their bow to shoot out all the end crystals, but then tons and tons of endermen start attacking them. And I think this makes the speedrunner extremely frustrated, because in the blink of an eye, all the endermen die, including the ender dragon. The speedrunner could even beat the ender dragon with their cheated items, which is honestly just embarrassing. This speedrunner starts by running a tank into a tree? What the heck? Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I will actually be very sad if you don't subscribe, so you better subscribe. This speedrunner starts inside of a snowy village, but for some reason they're on a snowy icicle, where the speedrunner goes down the icicle and immediately gets some carrots from a farm. But then this cute little rabbit wants some carrots, so they smack it. The speedrunner then goes throughout the village until they find the blacksmith, so once they enter the blacksmith, they open the chest and find full iron armor, which, don't get me wrong, isn't impossible, but is actually pretty rare to get full iron armor out of one chest from the blacksmith. The speedrunner takes all the loot and puts on the iron armor. They then mine some wood to get themselves some sticks and enter another villager's house, where they for some reason open a furnace and find 3 diamonds. I'm not sure why there's 3 diamonds inside of a furnace, but I guess I'm just crazy or something. The speedrunner then places down a crafting table and makes himself a diamond pickaxe. Now that they have a diamond pickaxe, they find some coal, and whenever they go to mine it, they realize that on the other side is a nether portal. Well, I guess the speedrunner goes through the portal, and once they're in the nether, they suddenly have a diamond sword, which if we look back inside the footage, they definitely did not have a diamond sword. They also have like 100 piglins trying to kill them, so they begin running away when all of a sudden the piglins just stop attacking them. And that's when we can see that the speedrunner has a golden helmet, which they definitely did not have before. Well, the speedrunner tries to fight the blazes, but the blazes get him down to half a heart, and just as he's about to die, he is suddenly full HP. So I think the speedrunner died, but just cut out the part where they actually died. Well, instead of killing the blazes for blaze rods, the speedrunner instead just breaks the spawner. And once they go up to the portal, they open up their inventory where we can see that they already have blaze rods, even though they killed 0 blazes. Well, they go back to the portal and into the overworld, where they find this absolutely insane sugarcane farm, even though I'm pretty sure villagers don't even use sugarcane farms. Well, the speedrunner breaks the entire sugarcane farm and then goes across this lake, where they see a chunky piece of snow, so they break it and then begin digging straight down. They keep on digging straight down, where they eventually find themselves in the stronghold. Wow, what are the chances that they spawn on top of the stronghold? Pretty lucky, huh? They break the silverfish spawner, and turns out that they only need 1 more Eye of Ender. So they turn around and find a random chest, which of course has 1 Eye of Ender. They place in the Eye of Ender and enter the end. Once they're in the end, they dig out of the hole and begin wandering around the end, where they realize that there's just no Ender Dragon. So I guess the Ender Dragon just took a day off or something. Well, they go through the portal and win the speedrun. This speedrun starts in a plains biome and immediately goes to mine a tree. Once they have enough logs, they make themselves a crafting table and start making their way across the plains biome until they find a cave with some iron and some coal. So they place down their crafting table and make themselves a wooden pickaxe. They then mine some stone and make themselves a stone pickaxe, which they use to mine the iron and the coal, which they smelt, and make themselves a bucket. They then take all their loot and head back to where they spawned at, but that's when we see this lava pool, which looks kinda weird, because normal lava pools usually have stone around them, which means that it's naturally generated, which makes me think that this speedrunner just placed down the lava here to fake the speedrun. But they fill their bucket up with water and try to make themselves a portal, but fail miserably. But that's when they look up into the sky and turn around, and there's suddenly a portal there, even though if you look back in the footage, there was definitely no portal there. But they can't even go to the nether because they don't have a flint and steel. But that's when they go up to this flower and dig next to it, and directly under it is a flint and steel. So they take the flint and steel and light the nether portal and enter the nether. Once they're in the nether, they go down this long cave and find some blaze rods just sitting on the ground. I don't think blaze rods just randomly drop on the ground like this. Well, they take the blaze rods and go back through the portal and into the overworld. Once they're in the overworld, they turn their blaze rods into blaze powder and then begin mining a tree, which they dig directly below and find an end portal. But the thing is, the speedrunner doesn't have any ender pearls. Wait, what? I don't recall them ever getting any ender pearls throughout the speedrun, but maybe maybe I just forgot? Well, they place in the Eyes of Ender and enter the end. But once they're in the end, they think they can make this jump, but whenever they try, they miserably fail. And I'm pretty sure they rage quit because the speedrun just ends there. This speedrun starts pretty normal as they're in a plains biome, and the first thing they do is just start walking around until they find this lava pool. The lava pools only spawn if there is stone around them, and this lava pool very clearly has no stone, which makes me think that the speedrunner probably put this lava pool here themselves. Well, the speedrunner ignores the lava pool, and that's where we can see a polar bear? I'm gonna be honest, I thought polar bears only spawn inside of savanna biomes. So the fact that I see a polar bear inside of a plains biome is genuinely confusing. Well, the speedrunner completely ignores the polar bear and decides to run to this tree to get some wood. Wait, is that a shulker? I've actually never seen a shulker be inside of a tree before, but maybe their game just glitched or something. Well, the shulker hits them and makes them fly, but it's okay because they land inside of a pool of water. They get a piece of wood and even start beating up the shulker. They eventually just leave the shulker alone as they are extremely low. So they head back towards the lava pool and find a nether portal. If you go rewind the video right now to where there was a lava pool, let me know if there was a nether portal here because I don't think there was. Well, even though there is a magical lava pool here, the speedrunner still has no flint and steel, so they can't let the nether portal. Wait, what? Well, they go into the portal, and now that they're in the nether, they find a bunch of hoglins that try to beat them up. So the speedrunner tries to just run away until out of nowhere, they randomly start gaining hunger bars and health, which I didn't even know was possible. And not only that, the hoglins for some reason don't want to attack the speedrunner anymore. Well, the speedrunner finds a chest and a sign, and the sign says legit chest. If this chest has items that are not legit, I feel like everyone should probably subscribe. Well, the speedrunner opens the chest and finds tons of Eyes of Ender. Well, I guess that means that everyone has to subscribe. The speedrunner takes the Eyes of Ender and makes her way back towards the nether portal. Now that they're back in the overworld, they for some reason don't throw the Eye of Ender and instead start going towards the polar bear. They then for some reason punch the polar bear and somehow fall through the water and find an end portal. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is not a stronghold. Well, the speedrunner just jumps into the end portal, and once they're in the end, they find some diamond parkour. So the speedrunner starts doing the parkour and is actually pretty good at parkour. Oh, they fell. Oh wait, never mind, they made it. Oh wait, never mind, they fell again. Oh, never mind, they made it. I'm not gonna lie, I am very confused what is happening right now. Well, they make the rest of the parkour legitly, and that's when they realize that for some odd reason, there is just simply no ender dragon. But I do see a sign that says, Ender Dragon is sick today? So because the ender dragon is sick, the speedrunner just goes up to the end portal and beats the speedrun. This speedrun starts inside of a village. The speedrunner then crafts himself an iron sword and even builds himself a house. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I am so sorry. This speedrun starts right next to a village, but the only problem is that they're 80 blocks in the sky. But lucky for the speedrunner, they're right next to a lake, which they should easily be able to land inside of. Oh, they completely missed. Well, the speedrunner goes into the village and for some odd reason finds tons of cows inside of this patch. So the speedrunner goes inside of it and smacks a few cows until they suddenly get a stack of beef, which literally makes no sense because they didn't even kill a cow. They then begin eating the meat even though they're full hunger bars. And when I say they're eating the meat, I mean they are eating it because they just keep on eating it even though they are still full hunger. Well, eventually they do stop eating the meat and begin breaking some wood on this house. They turn the logs into planks and make themselves a crafting table and some sticks. They place in the crafting table and try to make themselves a wooden pickaxe, but they are missing one piece of wood. So they go to mine some more wood, but the iron golem is looking at them kinda weird, so they smack it. And then they break the wood and make themselves a wooden pickaxe. Now that they have a wooden pickaxe, they start absolutely destroying this house for some reason until they have 14 cobblestone. They then begin randomly placing down their cobblestone. And can someone tell me why this cobblestone looks like a nether portal? Well, the speedrunner goes inside their cobblestone nether portal. Wait, what? How are they in the nether? Well, I am genuinely confused, but there could just be an update that I might have missed. Well, the speedrunner finds some lava, and inside the lava is some blaze powder. So of course the speedrunner takes all the blaze powder and goes back through their cobblestone nether portal. Now that they're back in the overworld, they go up to the wishing well and throw their torch and make a wish to get tons of ender pearls. And their wish somehow actually comes true because inside of the wishing well are some ender pearls. So they take the ender pearls and use their blaze powder and the ender pearls to make themselves some Eyes of Ender. They then find some carpet on the ground and another piece of carpet and another one, and they villagers keep on following the trail until eventually they find an end portal just out in the open like this. Even though I'm pretty sure end portals don't just randomly spawn here. Well, the speedrunner just jumps down to the end portal and fills in all of the eyes of Ender. Once they're in the end, they just dig their way out, and for some reason, the Ender Dragon is extremely low. The Ender Dragon shoots them with their ball, but for some reason, it just does not damage the speedrunner. So because of that, the speedrunner can easily kill the Ender Dragon, and then they just win the speedrun. This speedrunner starts right next to a village. So they immediately go to the village and enter the closest house. And in the house is a block I've actually never seen before. But the speedrunner ignores this very strange block and leaves the house. They then find a horse with a saddle already attached to it, which only has a 2% chance of spawning. So the speedrunner rides the horse and begins running off into the distance, until eventually they can see a ruined portal out in the distance. But wait, is that ruined portal already lit? The chances of there being an already lit nether portal are literally impossible. But once the speedrunner is at the nether portal, they exit the horse and loot the chest, which has some normal loot. They then enter the portal, and once inside the nether, the speedrunner finds a creeper head and a sign. And the sign says, "Twerk on creeper for special gift." What the heck? Surely the speedrunner isn't gonna— Wait, oh my god, what are you doing? Wait, how do they have eyes of Ender all of a sudden? I am literally so confused what just happened. But the speedrunner takes her special gift and leaves the nether. But once they're in the overworld, they look around and their horse is literally nowhere to be seen. So the speedrunner ends up running all the way back to the village. But that's when the speedrunner types inside chat, BRB? Why is the speedrunner going AFK inside of a speedrun? It might be some new pro tactic, you never know. Well, eventually the speedrunner comes back and they go deeper inside the village, until they end up finding a sign with a hole behind it. And the sign says, "Not stronghold." Honestly, I think this sign is telling the truth. But the speedrunner drops down the hole and dies. Oh wait, never mind. I meant to say they easily make it down the hole, which led them to the stronghold. Well, I guess that sign was lying. Not only is the end portal already lit, there's also a chest and a bed. And inside the chest is insanely overpowered loot. So the speedrunner takes some of the loot, sets their spawn point, and enters the end. Once in the end, they have to make a very difficult jump. So the speedrunner tries to make the jump and fails. Oh wait, never mind, they easily made it. Oh, I could have sworn they fell there. Maybe it's just a glitch or something. Well, now that the speedrunner easily made the jump, they can now kill the Ender Dragon. Why is the Ender Dragon on 1 HP? Well, all the speedrunner has to do is hit the dragon one time, but I think they shoot over a stack of arrows but consistently keep on missing. Honestly, I don't think there's a single person who has worse aim than this speedrunner. Eventually, they hit one shot and it kills the Ender Dragon. And that's how the speedrunner finishes his speedrun. This first speedrun starts right next to a village, as we can see what appears to be a blacksmith right next to them. They begin to head towards the village, and they enter this first house. But watch carefully for what happens whenever they open this chest. As we can see, they looted the chest, giving them some bread, some saplings, an apple, and even a book. So how do they have 3 ink sacks? Well, if we rewind the footage, we can see another player's arm through this window, and this person drops the speedrunner the ink sacks. But I'm confused why the speedrunner even needs ink sacks to begin with. Well, they leave this house and begin going towards the blacksmith. And before they open the chest, this is where things get very, very weird, because inside of the chest is so many diamonds. So they take everything out of the chest and leave the blacksmith. They find some hay bales and begin taking all of the hay bales. Once they're finished doing that, they begin to enter another house. But wait, if we rewind the footage, we can see that this house door was already open, which typically never happens because villagers always close the door behind them, which means the speedrunner must have left this door open on accident. Once they're inside the house, they look at the roof, and out of nowhere, they're in a crafting table, which is genuinely just confusing. But the speedrunner turns the hay bales into wheat, and the wheat into bread. They then use their diamonds to make themselves basically full diamond armor, except for a helmet. They put on the diamond armor and leave the house. And instead of exploring more of the village, the speedrunner begins to leave the village. They begin walking down this river until they see a ruined portal in front of them. But once again, if we rewind the footage, we can see that for some reason, there is just a breeze sitting here, which is actually a mob in the newest update. And they don't just randomly spawn above ground like this, because they can only spawn in end cities, which makes the fact of this breeze being here very, very confusing. Well, they completely ignore it and just head towards the ruin portal. They open the chest and find a god apple, which, don't get me wrong, it is possible. It is just extremely rare. They take the rest of the loot inside the chest as well. They then just look at the ruin portal, then turn around, then turn back around, and the portal is suddenly fixed, which I have a weird suspicion could have been that player that we saw earlier. The speedrunner then goes through the portal, and once they're in the nether, they begin mining a tree. And everything seems normal at first until they suddenly get dropped some blaze rods. But it doesn't stop there, because they also get dropped some ender pearls as well, which once again, I believe is the player that we saw earlier. They then access their inventory and turn their blaze rods into blaze power to make themselves some eyes of ender. Now that they have eyes of ender, they go back into the portal to go into the overworld. Now instead of throwing their ender eyes like a normal speedrunner would, they begin randomly walking around until they find a random hole which they go inside of, and what the heck? This is the most random stuff I have ever seen, where the speedrunner just places in the eyes of ender and enters the end. Once they're in the end, they just walk around normally until some arrows and a bow randomly fall from the sky. Now that the speedrunner has a bow and arrow, they can break all of the end crystals, but the speedrunner is shooting like 2 feet in front of them, but the end crystals are somehow breaking, and they do this over and over again until eventually all of the end crystals break. And if you thought these shenanigans would stop there, you're completely wrong, because they do this against the ender dragon as well, constantly shooting 2 blocks in front of them, but the ender dragon is somehow taking damage. And eventually the ender dragon dies and the speedrunner wins the speedrun. This speedrun starts pretty normal until we can see the speedrunner's friend inside chat. But whenever you speedrun, you're only allowed to speedrun by yourself, which means this speedrun is probably going to be fake. The speedrunner's friend mines a tree, but it took them 0.8 seconds to mine it, when trees typically take 1 second to mine. So I think the speedrunner's friend has efficiency on their hand or something. Well, they make a wooden pickaxe and mine all day long. It's now nighttime, so a zombie begins attacking them, but the speedrunner's friend has a torch, so they survive. The speedrunner finds a village and begins trading with a villager, but the villager has some terrible trades. So the speedrunner tries to punch them, but an iron golem comes out of nowhere, and he is not happy. The speedrunner gets absolutely destroyed by the iron golem. Oh wait, this is the wrong footage. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. It is literally my dream to one day reach 100,000 subscribers, and I'm not even halfway there. So if you could help me get one step closer towards my dream, that would genuinely make my entire day. This speedrun seems like it's pretty professional because they start with a timer in the top corner. But once they load in, they start in their 4th hotbar slot, which is an immediate sign that the speedrun could be fake because you always start in your 1st hotbar slot. But the speedrunner turns around and finds a pyramid. They break some dead bushes on their way towards the pyramid, ultimately giving them 8 sticks. Well, they enter the pyramid and break a block, and once the block breaks, they land down below. They open the first chest, which has normal loot. They take the gold and a sand block and open the next chest, which also has normal loot. They open the 3rd chest, which also has normal loot, but there is also a diamond, which is a pretty lucky thing to get out of a pyramid chest. But as soon as they get the diamond, we can see inside chat that they got the achievement diamonds, which means if they did indeed go inside a creative and place this diamond inside there, they would have already gotten the achievement beforehand. So that means that they never placed the diamond inside this chest, and it's actually legit. But the speedrunner opens the next chest and finds some more diamonds. Not only that, but there's also a golden chest plate, and golden chest plates cannot naturally spawn inside of pyramid chests. So maybe the diamonds weren't fake, but the golden chest plate definitely is. The speedrunner takes the diamonds, some blocks, and the golden chest plate. They then use the blocks to build out of the pyramid. They then begin wandering in a random direction until they suddenly see a village on their left and a ruin portal on their right. But before they go to either one, they first mine a tree. They mine 3 logs and make themselves a crafting table. They then place on the crafting table and make themselves a diamond pickaxe. They start heading towards the ruin portal, and once they're there, they look for a chest, but they cannot find it. So instead, they clear out the lava and begin mining the crying obsidian so they can actually form a portal. They mine 2 crying obsidian, and then they mine the corner block of the portal and place it at the top. They take the gold block and they start digging around to try and find the chest. And eventually, they find it. But the chest only has 2 obsidian, and normally a ruin portal chest would have a lot more stuff than just 2 obsidian. Well, either way, they take the 2 obsidian and finish the portal, but they don't have a flint and steel. But they close your inventory and reopen it and find a flint and steel, which somehow even duplicates. So now they have 2. Now, if you were expecting me to explain how they somehow did that, I'm sorry, I have no idea how they did that. Well, they light the portal and enter the nether. Once in the nether, they look around and they realize that they got a pretty bad spawn. But that's when they suddenly start digging in the wall. They start by building a staircase up and eventually just start digging straight. They do this for a decent amount of time until they somehow find themselves inside of a bastion. And there's a lot of brutes coming for them. So they start by hitting their feet, and then they use their flint and steel to light all the brutes on fire. Eventually, they all die, and the speedrunner can now loot the chests, which have some normal loot other than the fact that there's some ender pearls inside of them, which is of course not normal loot. They take the ender pearls and some other loot as well, and then they loot the second chest, which also has ender pearls, giving them a total of 5 ender pearls. They then begin making their way back towards their tunnel, and they go back into the portal even though they don't have blaze rods. Once they're back in the overworld, they start running in the direction where they believe they saw the village from before. Eventually, they do find it, but they also find a weird sand path that goes across the lake right here, which is very obviously not naturally generated. The speedrunner does some very cool block placements, which makes me believe that they're actually good at speedrunning, so the fact that they're cheating is genuinely just confusing. They also do some weird bridging for literally no reason. I guess they're just trying to show off or something. Once they're in the village, they start by mining some hay bales, and they go around the village a little bit, and we can see tons and tons of iron golems, even though each village inside of Minecraft usually only has 1 iron golem. The speedrunner suddenly mines a wall and opens a barrel to find 5 blaze powder, which is obviously fake. They take the 5 blaze powder and mine through a village's fence and into their grass just to find an end portal under their house, which of course is only missing 5 eyes of ender. So the speedrunner goes in their inventory and makes 5 eyes of ender and places in all the eyes to enter the end. Once they're in the end, there's already a hole for them to go up, so they place down blocks until they're at the top. And this part of the speed run is very, very weird because as we can see, there are tons of endermen, there's just no ender dragon. And instead of going in the portal, the speedrunner spams random blocks and then they go in the portal. And they finish with a time of 7 minutes and 43 seconds, giving them the new world record. If you like that video, you should probably watch this video as well because this video is even cooler.